Welcome everyone. We're going to do a quick standing practice here, and we'll be focusing on your feet and your lower legs. You don't really need anything special except for one part of the practice. I will be personally using a yoga strap. I'm not using it as a strap though. I'm going to use it to create a support for one of my toes. So if you don't have a strap, don't panic. You could use something else that looks like a strap, but you could probably equally use a washcloth or a hand towel, a book, notebook. You could probably even roll or fold up a mat, use a blanket. There's lots and lots of different options here. And you might actually want to try some different objects and see what works best for you. So don't panic when we get to that part of the practice. Feel free to experiment. I am going to put that strap off to the side for now. And I'm just going to come to stand a little bit more towards the middle or back of my mat. I'm going to try not to micromanage my feet too much, so I'm just going to let my feet land how they land. Don't have to be perfect. Like many of us, I learned lots of rules about how to place my feet on the mat. So I'm working on undoing that kind of perfectionism and really just noticing what it is my body wants to do. So if you're open to that, give it a shot. Just notice how your feet feel. And we'll start by just tuning into any sensations in your body as you're standing here. Does it feel comfortable to stand here on the mat? Or not so much for you right now? And then we're going to come towards a Virabhadrasana 1 or Warrior 1 variation. For this version, I'm going to step forward. And the reason I want to step forward is because I want the back foot to stay about the way it is when you're just standing on the mat. So I'm going to shift my weight towards the left, and then I'm going to step the right foot forward. It doesn't have to be a huge stance for this variation of Warrior 1. Feel free to make it nice and small front to back. But do step your foot wide enough that you feel like you're relatively pretty stable here. We're going to start by bringing some focus to the back leg. So really feeling your back heel pressing into the floor. From that back heel grounding, you're going to play with bending your front knee. And as you bend and straighten a few times, you're just going to notice what you feel. So there's probably movement at your ankle. Both legs, ankles actually. So some shifting of your weight, perhaps. You may also notice some movement at the front knee and both of your hips. Pay attention if you're feeling any sensations in your low back. Your low back doesn't need to be involved here, but sometimes it gets involved. And sometimes we also notice things like the pelvis wants to rotate, so we find ourselves turning probably towards the back leg side as we bend the front knee. So just notice what you notice. And then see if you can really feel that back heel pressing down. Keep the back heel pressing as you bend the front knee as far as feels good. So we want to be able to stay connected through the back heel. We also want the front knee to be happy. We want your back to be happy. We want the whole body to be relatively happy here. So feel free to adjust for sensation as needed. You may find that your front knee with this shorter stance travels in front of the front ankle. And I know there's lots of rules floating around in the yoga world out there. As long as you feel comfortable here, there is nothing wrong with it. So feel free to let your knee travel forward. Do stay connected into that back heel. If you want to take your arms up either straight or bent. Nice easy breaths here. Maybe imagining your breath coming in through your feet, up the front of your spine, and back down into the floor. Notice what happens as you hold here. So as we hold the posture a little longer, we often will discover that inside the posture, things actually don't feel steady and constant. There's lots of things happening all the time. So it gives us a chance to see what's going on in the body mind as you hold the posture, right? And then when you're ready, you're going to straighten that front leg a little bit. For a lot of us, it's going to feel more natural to step forward, but you're going to try to step back if that feels okay. So let your feet come to what feels like a relatively natural position for you. Stand for a moment and notice. You may notice some lopsidedness because we only did one side. So we're going to try to even you out a little bit here. We're going to keep that right foot on the ground. Shift the weight a little bit towards the right, step the left foot forward any amount. So feel free to let this be a small stance front to back. A little more space side to side in order to feel stable, steady. Trying to keep that back foot in whatever position it was in before you step forward, right? So we're just taking that forward direction step. Find the back heel connected to the ground first, maybe actively pressing that back heel down, and then play with maintaining that back heel connection as you bend and straighten the front knee. And see if you can tune in what's happening at both ankles and in both feet for that matter. What are you feeling around the knees and then up into the hips? Is there some turning or tilting happening in the pelvis? And is there anything happening up in the low back? Is the low back getting involved with what is a leg movement? Curious if so, right? Can you bring this movement into the legs a little more, maintaining the connection between your back heel and the floor? And then come in as far as it feels good to hold, not worried about that knee traveling forward of the ankle unless that doesn't feel good in your body. Keep that back heel pressing. If you want to bring the arms up, you can bring the arms up straight or bent. If you like, you can imagine your breath is traveling in from the ground up to the front of the spine. And then exhaling back down into the floor. Noticing what happens as you maintain. Are you able to stay rooted through that back heel? How is your body responding? How is your mind responding to hanging out in this place a little bit longer? And then whenever you're ready, bring the arms down, straighten that front leg. If you're able to step back, you're going to step back. So feet are side by side. Come to stand for a moment. Notice what you feel. And then we're going to find some kind of object here to support your big toe. So lots of options. Does not have to be a yoga strap. This happens to be something I have around in my office. I'm going to fold this several times just to create, well, something to put underneath my big toe. And I'm going to start with about this height. You're going to want a height that really suits your own body. And one reason I like the strap is I can fold it however many times I want to. So I'm going to put that strap down underneath my big toe. I'm going to try to put the other 4 toes on the floor. And I'm going to keep the base of the big toe, so the big toe mound here, I'm going to keep that on the floor. Big toes lifted up onto the support. Now, this should feel comfortable. So adjust the height of the support, adjust the firmness of the support for what you need. Okay. So you might stand feet side by side, or you might stand with your right foot a little bit forward. I'm going to stand with my right foot a little forward also for you so that you can see a little better. So you're going to be in this position here for a moment, breathing, feeling. And then you're going to see how it feels to press your big toe pad down into that support. So pressing the big toe towards the floor, big toe mound stays connected to the ground, other toes are connected to the ground. Nothing else changes except pressing that big toe down. Notice how it feels to hold that for a few breaths, maintaining that pressing. And then you're going to step off of that support, come to stand with your feet side to side, and notice what changed as a result of doing that work with the big toe. So you may find that the big toe is connected to a whole lot of other stuff related to how your foot, your lower leg feels, maybe even up the chain into your knee, your hip, your low back, your shoulder, who knows. So check it out, see what you feel. And then we're going to do the other side. Now, nothing says the left foot and the right foot need to be the same. So you may find you need a different height or a different material underneath your left big toe. Totally fine. We're going to support the big toe if possible. Let the other 4 toes be down. And then you can either stand feet side by side here, or you can step 1 foot back. I'll just do the same thing I did on the other side for argument's sake here. Just for balance, right? So that we really can see how this is the same and how it's different. Other 4 toes are down. The mound of the big toe is down. The pad of the big toe is lifted onto that support. I'm going to feel that just for a few breaths here. And then I'm going to actively press the pad of the big toe down. So big toe presses, maintaining that pressing over several breaths if you can. So notice what happens as you do that. As you're pressing your big toe, we want the mound of the big toe, we want the other 4 toes, we want everything else to pretty much be the same. So just working into that big toe press. And then when you feel complete with that, you're going to step off of your support, coming to stand on both feet for a moment. And then again, what happened? Having done that work in the big toe, how is that felt then throughout both feet, throughout the lower legs, throughout the hips and above? And just noticing. Sometimes it's interesting to take a few steps and just see how that landed. And then we're going to come back to that warrior 1 for a moment. So let's take the weight into the left foot. Left foot stays where it is. Right foot comes forward. Taking a moment to just feel. And then find that same movement again if you're bending into the front knee and straightening it. How are things feeling now? It's about the same as when you did it before, or is anything different? Can you stay connected to that back heel, right? And then as you come in, find a place where you feel comfortable holding. Fine if this knee drifts forward. It's also fine if it doesn't. Maybe taking your arms up if that feels good. Breath from the floor, up the front of the spine, on the inhale. And then exhaling back down into the earth. Just see what you notice, right, as you hold. You don't need to hold super long here. This is the second time we've come around to this. When you're ready to come out, you're going to bring your arms down, straighten your leg. If it feels okay for you, you're going to step both feet together, stepping back with the front foot. Noticing what you notice. And then we'll shift weight to the other side, stepping the left foot forward this time, or whichever foot you didn't do before. Then just noticing, is this different now that we did a little work with the toes? Back heel stays rooted as you bend the front knee. Seeing what you notice here. Seeing if you can feel all the parts of the lower body working together, right? And what are the shifts that happen as you come forward and come back out? You're almost creating an inner map here, right? Of your felt experience of this movement in your body. And then you might come in. Back heel stays rooted to the floor. If you want to bring your arms up, arms bent or straight as you like. Nice, easy breath from the floor. Inhaling up through the front of the spine. Exhaling back down into the earth. Nice and easy. Just observing what happens as you hold. Where is the sensation? Where are the shifts that occur? What else do you notice? And then when you're ready to come out, if your arms are up, bring the arms down. Straighten that front leg, maybe step that front foot back. Come to stand one more time. Noticing how you feel. Just taking stock. How are things now? So this has been a really simple practice. I like to come back to the pose that I start on because sometimes it really helps us to see and feel and experience what's changed. Of course, both of these postures, doing the warrior 1 or Virabhadrasana 1 posture and doing that work with the big toe, both of these things can really make a difference in what's going on down in your foot, your lower leg, and even beyond. If you notice some shifts, I'd love it if you shared them in the comments. This stuff can be really fun. I'm happy to answer questions as well. And if you enjoyed this, keep exploring that work with the big toe and see how it affects the rest of your standing pose practice.